So the next thing I want to talk about is the land. And I know land is fairly important to ARCIS. So first thing I want to point out is you enable the land layer by clicking this checkbox on the left-hand side in the legend. And probably, again, the easiest way to access a lot of this information is through your map. Now, freehold information is limited by the government in terms of what they make available. And so there really is nothing in these freehold leases except the indication that they are freehold leases. But the brown areas are crown lands, and in this case, completely leased crown lands. The light green are open crown rights, so you can see there's some rights that have been taken in this area and some rights that are still open, hence the hatching with the green background. You can see in some of these areas that all the rights under this particular section are still available, and that's why it's green and with no hatching at all. In some areas, we'll just push out a little bit more to see if there's any recent sale information in this particular area. You'll see kind of a brown area. You'll either see a purple area for upcoming sales, which I don't see anything in this particular area, but you'll see these two parcels had a recent land sale. They were sold recently, and so we're waiting for the results to hit the system. In any event, you get an idea for the various different types of things presented on the map. Now, let's say you want to learn a little bit about what's going on in this area. One thing you have to be a little cautious about is, just like all the other functionality, if you mouse over a section, it will give you the lease number, effective date, expiry date, etc. However, it's only going to really pull that information for the uppermost layer when you're mousing over. And if you just click on the layer, you're going to get the topmost layer, but not all layers involved. So there's a couple of things you can do to kind of counter that. Number one, if you click and drag over parcels, it will select all the lands within that rectangle. Now you'll notice that some of these parcels that we scrolled over appear to be unselected because they're not highlighted. But what's actually happened is they're double selected. You'll also notice that a couple of parcels that fell outside of this rectangle that we drew from are highlighted. That's because they're impacted by whatever is happening here. In other words, they're tied to a lease that falls within this spectrum. So we've clicked and dragged over some parcels. We're now interested in looking at the information behind it. So we go Reports, Land, and you'll see the lease numbers to the left-hand side. You'll see the Crown Land Report, status, type, term, area, expiry dates, who the interest holder is, any related wells, and again you can scroll through the different approval numbers to get the information on what's going on with each of the individual parcels. The other thing you have again is a land table where you can grab that group of parcels and throw it into a spreadsheet, which you can export to Excel. There isn't the ability to customize at the present time, but if that would be something you guys might be interested in, please let us know. And so there you go. There you have your lease number. You have the land descriptions and broken out. You have the type of leaseor, the partners in this. A lot of them are 100% interest, it looks like. All of them, actually. And the specific mineral rights spelled out in that table. Now, getting back to some of the other functionality we've played with in the past, we do know Imperial actually has lands in this area. So going back to our search functionality, let's say you wanted to find all the land where the company starts with IMP. In this case, I don't think there's too many companies that start with IMP that would conflict with Imperial, but let's find out. We'll clear the current selection first, unless you're interested in incorporating two companies together to see what their land positions look like. But anyway, in this case, we're going to clear out this search we've already done. Show me all the ones where the company starts with IMP. And there you go. There's 20 parcels, including one that goes right up through the area we were searching in, that all appear to be related to Imperial Oil. Again, we can go to our land map. We can go through all the different lease numbers to find out information about those particular parcels. We have our land table, which brings up, all the parcels in the spreadsheet format. And there's other things we can do in relation to land. We can buffer those parcels as well. Let's call this Imperial lands. Again, I would want the buffer offset distance, which is the amount of space between the actual border of the parcel and the border of the annotation layer, to be fairly tight to the layer. Let's pick a different color this time. Let's pick a dark green. Might not be that great because there's kind of some other things going on there. Let's use the blue. In this particular instance too, you could put a solid fill in there. You could say, okay, I'd like a yellow fill to this, and boom. Now these lands are all selected, which is why they're coming up as blue. But if you were to turn off your land layer, you could see, okay, there's where all the Imperial parcels lie in this particular stretch. Okay? And here's a little bit of functionality that, let's say you're interested in finding all the wells that fall within these parcels that we've identified, right? So one of the first things you could do is you could go select map features. And this would apply to, if you have a buffer layer around wells and you want to reselect all the wells that are inside, you could do a similar process to this. But anyway, in this case, we're picking the annotation layer, Imperial lands. We'll go all, which selects all the different parcels. We'll go OK, which is now we've selected them all like we did before. And then select within this particular layer that we've highlighted, all the wells, OK. Now we've selected all the wells. Now you can go to a well table here, and you've got all the wells that fall within those particular lands. So that's something you might want to take a look at in terms of functionality that might be useful for you. I'll unselect that again. Again, if you don't like the layer that you've created, you can always delete it. Just go to Edit, Map Layers, and this opens this window, delete, and you're right back to square one, right? And let's see, in addition, there's some other things that you can do that might be useful. We do have a land selection tool. And the land selection tool is sort of part of the select rectangle, radius, polygon functionality, but designed specifically for land. And again, the idea with this functionality is if you click on a parcel, it will select all parcels in a given area. And there may be more than one. So you can see at the bottom here, 2 crown lands selected, and I'm imagining that, let's shift, hold the shift key down if you're picking multiples, and You can see at the bottom here, as we move through, we've selected 6 crown lands while using this functionality. Again, same idea. You can go to Reports, Land, and scroll through the different leases that you've selected off the map. Or you can go to Tables, Land, to see this all laid out in a spreadsheet format. Okay? So that gives you kind of a high level view of what's going on here. Now, if you turn it off and on, that allows you to kind of refresh things and start over. Again, if you're selecting multiples, hold your shift key down, and then you can select a few here and there. And again, if there's parcels that are tied to something that goes out of the geographic area of the parcel you selected on, they'll all get highlighted too. And then Reports, Land, and you're off to the races.